Hey everybody, Chief Tim here. Just wanted to make another video. I got this in my email the other day from the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, better known as CISA. They are the cyber group for all of federal government. They make a lot of guidance and they do a lot of protection. There's free cyber services. You can go to CISA.gov and see what they have to offer there. One of the big things that I like to do is look at, obviously, stuff for families. And so the first one is the Shields Up campaign. And there's one just for guidance for families. And this stuff I've talked about in the past, but I wanted to really look at the first point that they make here is implement multi-factor authentication on your accounts. And it's pretty awesome. Like the very first thing you can do is look at multi-factor authentication. And just in case you didn't see my my previous video on this, but multi-factor authentication is the thing that allows you to have two forms of authentication when you log into something. The first one is yourself. Obviously, I'm the one trying to access. The second thing is something you know, something you have, something you know. And then, and so it's usually just like a password. But the multi-factor authentication is the ability to have an additional provider. So like this morning, I logged in to look at my billing for my health provider to see if I owed any money, and for my previous visit that I had with my doctor, and it emailed me a code. That's multi-factor authentication because I logged into my account, and as I was trying to log in, they actually said, "Hey, we're going to email you a code." And thankfully, on the website, it didn't offer, didn't display my email. And then I got my code, and then used the code to log in. So that's what multi-factor authentication is. I highly recommend you do that on anywhere you log in, anywhere whatsoever. My favorite authentication app is Google Authenticator. That seems to work pretty well. You can actually set up multiple Gmail accounts and have actually multiple user accounts within the app itself. You don't need to necessarily utilize that. One of my favorite ways to do it is this key right here. It's called a Google Titan key, and I'm going to show a picture of that, and you can Google that online. I should have had it ready, and I didn't, but I have it right here. It's called a Google Titan key, and really what it is, USB-C. And you literally plug it into your device and you tap the button whenever the device tells you to do it. And that is a hardware key. That is one way to lock down your account. They cost like $40. They might be a little more now, but when I bought them, they were expensive, not that expensive. But you can, as a matter of fact, we can even go look, Google Titan key. And yep, Titan security key. It's at the store. And this is the best way to have multi-factor authentication. And it's only $30. Wow, it was $40 when I bought it with free shipping. Highly effective. You can use it on cell phones. You can use it on computers, laptops. It works quite well. And you can use it for more than just your Google account. If you have an Apple account, you can lock down if they let you do it with it's called a ubiquitous key, or YubiKey is sometimes what it's called. You can do that. So I highly recommend using that. That's the strongest form of multi-factor authentication, the absolute strongest. The other type that you can use is email, and then of course texting. Texting is the most common, but it's the least secure. If somebody owns your cell phone number, they can do what's called a SIM swap, meaning they can then every time you get a text or phone call, it gets sent to another call you don't even know. And they basically are listening in or reading in on all of your texts. So it's better than nothing, but confirmation texts or emails are better than nothing, but they're not the best. Fingerprint or Face ID, that's the other one I like to do whenever I'm doing purchases on my cell phone. I'll sit there and I have my Face ID and fingerprint programmed into my phone. And then I also set up anything that has my financial information in it. I could go in there and ensure that I set up, biometric payment on there too. So before a payment goes through, it checks my biometrics. It's not the best, of course, because somebody has proven that they can hold up a picture of somebody and, literally hold it up to the phone. And sometimes that works. My twin boys also have it set up so that, they set up their pictures and then they could use they're not identical, They do look a little bit different from each other, and yet they can unlock each other's phones. I like to have fun with that. But it all comes down to best practices. Make sure that you have some sort of multi-factor authentication. The other thing is update your software. One of the things I do almost every Monday, I like to do it on Mondays because I just have it in my brain to start it on Mondays, is to literally go into my Google phone and into my Pixel and go to the Play Store. And whenever you do that, you can then, I wish I could show you, I can't do it at the moment, but go to Manage Apps and then check for updates. And then download all your updates and then restart your phone every once in a while. It always amazes me when somebody's like, hey, my phone's really slow. And the first thing I look at is how many apps I have open. And I don't know how many times I'm like, all right, do you mind if I look at your phone? They're like, sure. And the first thing I do is look at how many apps they have and how much space are they using on their phone. That generally people just get used to being able to open up an app and then it's always open for them. I tend to just close all my apps the moment I stop using it. I don't like to leave it open. Even my Messages app or my Signal app, I don't leave that open all the time. And then think before you click. So this is one thing that I love to show. So if I was to go look at a hyperlink, one thing that Google Chrome likes to do, or gives you one of the things that options that it offers you is the hover option. And when you hover over it, you can see it down here. I can't use my mouse twice, but down in the left-hand corner, you'll see the URL, and it's not displaying on my recording, but you'll see the URL there. And for here, it says CISA.gov Shields Guidance Families #top. And so that takes me to the top, so I know it's safe. So that's the best way to do it. Think before you click. I talked about people getting messages from a fake Facebook account that was imitating me. And obviously, most people know don't click on a link. But I don't know how many times I've had to go help somebody, and they're like, "Yeah, I called this number, and they told me to click this link," and it just happens. Like, it's that moment in time, and when you're driving on the freeway and you start to change lanes and you don't realize there's a motorcycle there, or that time that you ran a yellow light and you almost hit a pedestrian. You don't mean it. You don't mean to click that link. But phishing schemes are still the highest utilized methodology of malware and in the ability of owning somebody. Phishing schemes are that. So make sure the web page looks legitimate. You hover over the link and it'll tell you what it is. If one thing I like to look for is the domain. So when you hover over a link and you're going to see the domain. So this one says CISA.gov. So that's the first thing you want to look at is the dot. What is the domain? And if it's like AmazonClicks.com, some people just see Amazon. And then they say, oh, it's a .com, it's safe. That's not true. It's Amazon Clicks is the domain. So it's whatever the name of that is before the domain. So like up here, it's CISA.gov, and you see that's a legitimate domain. The other way you can tell by checking if it's a legitimate domain is once you go to the website, if you're still not sure, you can click on this ellipse up here, and it'll tell you the connection is secure, cookies and site data, site settings, and about this page. And this option is built into every browser now. Firefox, Edge, Safari, you can see that it's always at the left of the URL. All right, and then the last thing, use strong passwords and ideally a password manager to generate and store unique passwords. The reason why they say do a password manager to generate passwords for you is because obviously, if I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to use my birthday and my wife's birthday as my password, and most people can generally find that out just by knowing you or even looking up online. Finding somebody with malicious intent can find your birthday online. I guarantee it's posted somewhere. And so that's why a password manager is important, because it'll generate a strong 16-character password that has nothing to do with you other than the fact that you own it. And the two password managers I like to use is Google Chrome has a great password manager built right into it because I'm a Google user. But if you're an Apple user, the other one that I also use, I use both. I use Proton Pass. And Proton is my favorite non-Google software developer. They generate so much great stuff just for the and I pay their annual fee and for privacy and trust. So I highly recommend Proton and Google Password Manager. And with that, that's all I'm going to talk about this today. I try to make these as quick as possible. And this is Chief Tim signing off. Don't forget to go wash your hands.